Stephen Stills is an American singer, songwriter, and guitarist. He was a founding member of the band Buffalo Springfield from 1966 to 68. He then was involved in forming Crosby, Stills and Nash, who became Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young when Neil Young joined them. And they have been on and off through the years. He has also formed the band Manassas, and he has had a solo career and several collaborations. So all sorts of different names and kind of paired names for albums. I counted 15 albums of his that were just listed as his name. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was Stephen Stills' first solo album, and it's my first time listening to it. I have come across him, and it's not long since I reviewed another of his albums, which was by the band Manassas that he put together, which is some people regard as a solo album anyway. I would describe this as being folk rock and blues rock and gospel rock. I'll get into that in a little bit. There are several guests on this album, so let's talk about those for a bit. Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton. And apparently this is the only album on which both of those guys feature. So interestingly, the Eric Clapton, so step back a second. My normal process is to do a listen and then do some reading and then do a listen. And so that gives me a listen which is as devoid of context as possible, and then another one that's got a lot more context. And on the first listen, I heard the track where Eric Clapton was playing and thought that it was Stephen Stills playing, and thought, yeah, he sounds a lot like Eric Clapton. Well, I feel a bit kind of smug that I recognised Eric Clapton, even though I didn't realise he was on the album. Although, having said that, Stephen Stills is no mean guitarist himself, so we've got quite a range of guitarists going on here. Other guests that I recognise the names of or want to draw out: Booker T of Booker T and the MGs, Ringo Starr from some mildly known British band, Rita Coolidge, and David Crosby and Graham Nash, who were also in Crosby, Stills and Nash. So it's not a Crosby, Stills and Nash album, but both the other two guys do appear here. Mama Cass of the Mamas and Papas, and a guy called Arif Mardin did string arrangements, and Arif became a really well-known and respected producer in over the next kind of decade or so. Let's get back to this album. So a couple of songs are more kind of folk rock, especially the second track, Do for the Others. I would say some of them have a gospel feel, which is kind of emphasised by the backing vocals, which have the kind of depth and of sound as if they were a backing choir, like a gospel choir. There's not actually that many of them, I understand, but maybe it's multi-layered. I don't know. Some of the tracks are kind of a straighter rock feel, and there's quite a few with some blues feel, especially blues guitars. So we've got the tracks with Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton in. We've got blues guitar going on, but the most squarely blues track is Black Queen, which is basically a solo acoustic blues guitar and vocals, and is my favourite track on the album. It's very nice. The songwriting, musically, I'd say it's pretty strong. Vocally, so I kind of, I don't feel that he's as strong as some people vocally. I think that's okay to say. I feel like at times he's a bit swamped, particularly in the bigger numbers. He's also not got a particularly distinctive voice. But I feel like as I listen to different tracks that he's different in his strength in terms of the singing. So I go back to Black Queen, which is my favourite track, and I feel like he's got really, really good singing on Black Queen. Some of the other tracks, I think I'm like, it's not really quite carrying it off as much as maybe some others would do so. Lyrically, so the first track on the album is Love the One You're With, which is a classic, which is an interesting message. The rest I kind of found a bit meh lyrically. Some of it's about ex-girlfriends, and this is maybe I'm being influenced by the other album of his that I reviewed recently, which had a very similar feel about, which is that yeah, it's okay, but it doesn't kind of jump out at you in terms of the lyrics. I mean, musically, it's strong. Lyrically, it's a little bit kind of average, I would say. So overall, it's okay. I would say my biggest criticism is it lacks a little bit in identity, but it's a pleasant listen, so I enjoyed it. Just in a mild kind of way. So that's what I think. What do you think? Please do let me know by leaving me a comment down there. And that's it from me for now.